Uh, Ghazal, how will I end this? Yeah, I'm live, I know, but how will I end
Yes.
this stream? Like, I'll just close it.
Yes, I think if you leave, it'll end. Otherwise, you can just let me know. I'll be available to help out.
Maybe just join around 7:35 ish, right?
Okay, sure.
Okay, because I think it will keep on going.
Could be. So I'll
Yeah,
join back.
because it will think that we haven't ended, right? That's why. Yeah.
Yeah, right, right.
Okay,
All
okay.
right.
Yeah, thank you, Ghazal, thank you.
So take on. Bye.
Yeah, thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Change the layout. Yeah, just change the layout. Thank you. That's it. Hi everyone, this is Love Johar. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Just let's wait for a couple of minutes before we start. A very interesting topic for today that we have is the third-party risk management. Very important topic, I would say, for all the organizations out there. If you are the CEO of a company, if you are the CISO of a company, if you are the compliance person of a company, okay, if you are the procurement person of a company, all these roles basically need to understand the criticality of a third party risk management. And most importantly, if you are part of the GRC team, definitely you need to know about the third party risk management. Okay, so let's get started. I think because I can't see any comments, if you have any questions, feel free to add in the comment section. And what do we mean by third party, first of all? Okay, so whenever as an organization we need to outsource, okay, we need to outsource anything, okay, let's say we need to outsource our product development, okay, product development, product development, okay, or we need to outsource our SOC services, okay, service operation center, SOC services, okay. Whenever we need to outsource a product or we need to outsource a service, we need a third party. Third parties are a crucial part, I would say. In today's world, there would be uh, I don't think any single organization without a third party, right? So you definitely need third party, that's for sure. There is no survival, without a third party for any organization. Again, you can outsource either product or you can outsource service. Both of the things are possible when you go for third party. A lot of misconception is around the fact that we only outsource services. That is not true. Okay, let me clarify over here that when we outsource to third party, we can actually outsource the product side as well. Okay, many companies do that, in fact. Okay, now why do we companies basically outsource to third party? What are the reasons? Now let us try to understand. Okay, because there definitely should be reason, right? Because without reason, why would a company spend cost and effort to basically have a third party on board, right? Why would a company basically do that? So number one is responsibility sharing. Company wants to share the responsibility, right? Because they want to share the responsibility because they might not be able to handle the load. Okay, so they want another third party to basically share the load with them. Okay, so that's why responsibility sharing comes into play here. Okay, and second thing very important is here, which is called as impact sharing also. Company wants to share the impact as well. Why? Because if I have not transferred the operations to a third party, okay, everything is on my company, everything is basically um, run within the organization. So in that case, basically, tomorrow anything bad happens, okay, let's say there's a data breach that happened, right? There's a data breach that happened, So in that case, if I'm a ABC organization, entire risk, entire impact would be taken hit by my organization. Okay, these are the two main factors why a company outsources to third party. Third main factor is the capability issue. Capability. Okay. Now let's say I want to develop a critical software. Okay. I want to develop a critical software application. Okay. But I do not have a software team, right? I don't have a development team. I don't have a testing team. So question comes, do I spend a lot of hours and effort to hire a team, or I can simply go to a third party and make sure that they align with my requirements, the business requirements, and outsource this to the third party. Why would I choose third party over my own team? Two reasons. One thing would be this approach would be very fast. Okay, in terms of time, because it will take time for me to hire new people, it will take time for me to set up a new team, it will take time for me to basically set up the operations entirely, right? So third party approach is fast. Second thing is, not in all cases, but in some cases, this is a very cost effective approach. Okay, this is a very cost effective approach. Why? Because let's say I need to hire 15 developers, right, for creating a product. So right now I don't know. I'm just assuming that I might need 15 developers. Maybe down the line I only need 5 or maybe 2. So if I hire 15 developers initially only just to, make an assumption that I might need 15 developers for developing an application, I'm basically, pre-assuming something which is not there. And because of that, a lot of budget will be wasted, right? So that's why ideally company should go to third party and assess what is the real requirement. Okay, you need to understand what is the real requirement that you have in place and accordingly choose the third party. Okay, and then compare the cost. Okay, then you compare the cost whether hiring the developers at your place, do you have the physical, you know uh, sitting capacity also to hire 15 people or not. All these things needs to be considered, right? So taking all those things into consideration, then you decide whether you go for third party or you go for internal team creation within the organization, right? So this is basic background around the third party. Guys, keep on adding your questions in the comment section. I'm able to respond to them as soon as you add them, right? I'm able to see from here. So any questions till now, feel free to add in the comment section. Okay, so this is a brief background around third party. Okay, so before I go on to the next slides, I always say one thing. Okay, understanding theory is of no use. Okay, you need to have practical. Okay, you need to have practical understanding, you need to have practical hands on approach, right? You need to have hands on. So what we do is that, not in this webinar, but if you join the course, that is, I think, starting next month in April, will basically give you a live environment, right? In that live environment, you will be having a company and you will be having a lot of third parties in the company. So basically, you will be doing each and everything related to third party risk management with your hands in a live practical environment, right? You will be identifying the third parties, you will be identifying the risk associated with the third parties, you will basically try to identify what are the data exchange between the third parties, what is the intellectual property being exchanged with the third parties. Each and everything you will basically try to understand in the practical environment. That is really important, guys. No matter how many videos you watch, no matter how many books you read, until and unless you will do practical hands on, trust me, nothing is as comparable to that. Okay, and the cohesiveness of the environment that we create in the classroom. You can see there are a lot of people getting jobs in the market because of that reason, because you get confidence, right? Because you get real understanding of the stuff on the ground, like how it is happening, what are the real challenges on the ground. Those are only able to you only be able to see once you perform the hands on, right? Without performing hands on theory, you will forget after 5 days. Trust me. I have also attended many courses, I have also attended many seminars. I only remember what I did in those, right? So anyone watching this live stream, a humble request again, I always say that in all my webinars, please only join the courses where you get practical understanding, okay, hands on understanding, okay, so that tomorrow when you go to your jobs, when you go to your GRC roles, when you go to your CISO roles, when you go to your procurement roles, you basically know what you need to do on the ground. This is really important, guys. Okay, anybody who is watching, please make a note of this. Okay, don't go for theory courses. Okay, they are of no use. Okay, so having said that, let us now try to delve into the slides. So this part I think we have already discussed. What is a third party? Is basically reliance on the external vendors. Okay, you can call them vendors, you can call them suppliers. Okay, you can call them supply chain also. Okay, so all these come under third party. Okay, you can also called as contractors. Okay, all these come under the third parties. So these are the key risks in the third party relationship. What are the key risks now? Okay, number one and most important, why we are here as a cybersecurity community, we need to know around the cybersecurity risk. What are the risks related to the cybersecurity, right? What are the challenges? What are the risks related to the cybersecurity? Okay, so whenever you have data exchange, whenever you have intellectual property exchange with the third party, it basically gives rise to the cybersecurity risk. You should know why you are getting the cybersecurity risk. The why is very important, guys. You're getting cybersecurity risk because of you're transferring your data. The third party is using your data. Third party is using your intellectual property of the company. Because of that, you are getting into cybersecurity risk. Okay. So number one, very common, unauthorized access to sensitive data. Okay, so whenever you have any third party in place, you basically design the access mechanism. Okay, you design the access mechanism as to how will the third party basically access the data or the intellectual property, right? You basically design this access mechanism. Maybe you provide them a portal, maybe you provide them a VPN gateway, maybe you provide them with any other resources as an organization, but definitely you provide a access mechanism to the third party. Okay, and that has to be agreed upon, right? So, and you define the access roles as well, who can access and who cannot access. Similar to that case, now if there is any unauthorized access from the third party side, okay, it's a big issue. Okay, similarly, because of the unauthorized access, you can get into data breaches. Okay, because if the vendor has weak controls, okay, then definitely you will come into data breach situation as well. Okay, and how do you basically ensure whether the vendor has appropriate controls or not? Through different audit reports and attestation reports. Okay, two types of reports you need from any third party. Guys, please make a note, this is very important. I'm sharing you from practical understanding. First you need audit report, second you need attestation reports. Okay, attestation report. Okay, so for audit report you can basically ask third party for ISO 27001 certification, right? And in this certification you need to look into two things. Firstly, what is the scope of this certification that they are offering you, and does this scope basically cover the area of outsourcing that you are basically providing to the third party. So the scope basically should include all those environment into that. If that environment is not covered in the scope, then this certification is of no use. This is the first thing that you need to check. Very important. Okay, make a note. Second thing that you need to check over here is the audit date and validity. Okay, what is the audit validity, what is the audit date? Okay, these two things you need to definitely check, because if they are giving you audit reports of last let's say today is 2025, if they are giving you audit report of 2021 or 2022, basically it's of no use. Okay, it's basically of no use. So you basically need to ask them for the updated audit report. It should be valid, and the scope should cover the service that you are outsourcing to the third party. This is very important, guys. Okay, so for audit you need to ask for ISO 27001 audit report. Similarly, for the attestation report, you need to ask for the SOC 2 type 2 report. Okay, this is the report that you need to ask for, confirming that they have proper cyber security related controls. Okay, SOC 2 type 2 you need to have. Okay, and they are again provided by AICPA authorized auditors. Okay, a company has to be audited by AICPA auditors. Then they will produce their SOC 2 type 2 audit report. Okay, so if you have these two things, you can check whether the company has weak security controls or not. These are the basic measures I would suggest everybody to basically follow. And nowadays, I have seen many of the service organizations are already having these two reports handy. So definitely you can go ahead and you can ask them for these reports, right? Third thing that you need to check is in the past whether there have been any cyber chain attacks, the supply chain attacks in the same vendor or not. For example, is the vendor genuine enough? Is do they have proper supply chain checks in place? Okay, and they should not have any prior supply chain attacks in the past. Okay, these are the things you need to check. Then after that comes the regulatory and compliance risk. Okay, so we know that whenever we deal with third party, a lot of compliances come into play. For example, we have GDPR. Okay, where we use the processors. Okay, when we use the processors, if the processors are managing the EU regulated data for the European citizens, definitely they need to abide with the GDPR. Okay, now there is a regulatory and compliance risk. Similarly, if the third party is dealing with healthcare data, HIPAA, credit card data, PCI DSS, similarly, and henceforth, right? So these are the compliances, these are the checks that they have to have in place, right? You need to have in place. Okay. So these checks we have to make sure whether they are GDPR compliant or not, they are HIPAA compliant or not. All these things we need to check. And if not, then financial penalties will be introduced to them, and it will result into reputational damage to your organization, because definitely it will impact your organization because you are consulting with them. Okay, so don't think that if they are penalized nothing will happen to your organization. Definitely you will have reputational damage because of that, because the data that these third parties would have would be your data only, right? So definitely you will be impacted. Okay, then coming to the operational risks, what are the different operational risks? Let's say third parties do not have appropriate infrastructure in place. Let's say you have not defined the proper SLAs in place. Okay, let's say the contractual terms for SLAs are not that strong. So in that case, you will have downtime and service disruptions. Very common thing. Okay, that's why I always say that when we manage third party risk, three key people we need in any organization. First would be someone from the information security side to look after the third party risk. Second one should be from the legal side. And third person should always be from the financial side. So let me tell you role of each person when we talk about third party risk. So basically, information security person will look at anything related to cyber security. Legal and financial people won't have any idea on that, right? Legal person will look at regulatory and compliance risk, okay? Because they are basically concerned with that. Now, why financial people we need here? Financial people we need because let's say you agree upon some SLA terms regarding the uptime and regarding the operational, equipment or operational processes during a particular interval. Okay, but the SLAs are, let's say, not adhered to. Okay, so in that case, basically you need a financial person also. Okay, so that is very important. You need a financial person because if the SLAs are not in place, they are not adhered to, third party should have penalties. Okay, introduced. Okay, and that only financial people can do. Got it? Any doubts still here? Feel free to add in the comment section, guys. Okay, I'll be more than happy to answer your questions. Again, continuing with the risk, reputational risk, we have already seen that. Okay, financial risk, we have already seen. What would be the financial risk? Another financial risk would be, let's say, a third party commits a fraud, financial instability, they do not have appropriate funds to manage your business, they go bankrupt. Okay, so financial risk are covering with these aspects. Okay, data privacy risk. Okay, unauthorized sharing, storage or processing of customer employees without your information, right? They are just doing their own processing without informing you because you are the controller, they need to inform you, right? But they're just doing that unauthorized, right? So it's a data privacy risk. Okay, because of that, if there is exposure of PII, again it will impact your organization also. Okay, one thing very important I want to mention here, guys, whoever is watching and definitely need to understand. Let's say there is a ABC bank. Okay, there is a ABC bank, and this bank has outsourced its third party services to the, let's say, a cloud service provider, let's say AWS. Okay, let's say they have outsourced their entire storage onto AWS, for example. Okay, and although AWS is a very strong public cloud, but let's assume for now there is a data breach happen over here on the AWS cloud. Now, even the bank has transferred the responsibility, okay, to the AWS side, the accountability still lies with the bank. Okay, bank is still accountable. Bank is still accountable, guys. Try to understand. Okay, very important thing I'm telling you. You cannot transfer accountability. You can only transfer responsibility. You can only transfer impact to the third party. But at the end of the day, as per law, you are accountable. Okay, third party is not accountable, they are only responsible. So that is why we need to pay a lot of attention, a lot of due diligence, a lot of due care into play whenever we are going for any third party. Okay, it is very, very important, guys. You need to have proper checks in place. I have seen many companies where, you know, we are dealing with their third party risk management. They have outsourced to us as Protect Technologies. We are making sure each and every aspect of third party risk management is covered, right? We do not leave any stone unturned when it comes to third party because we know that it's a very weak link. We know that it's a very easy opportunity for anybody from outside to penetrate into any organization very easily, right? So that's why third party risk management, if you have somebody internal, definitely take it very seriously, guys. If not, then feel free to outsource to a third party, but make sure that this activity is taken care properly, because this is one key thing which can actually completely destroy your business if not handled properly. Okay, because third party is a very key risk area for any organization, right? So make sure that it is handled properly. It's a humble request. Okay, so when we talk about third party, basically there is a concept of subcontractors. Okay, now who is a subcontractor? Okay, let's say, again, let's take the same example. I'm a bank and I outsource something to the AWS cloud, public cloud. Now, AWS again outsources it to some third party. Let's say a small cloud vendor, or let's say some any other company, for example. Okay, if they are again outsourcing this to another third party vendors, these two are basically known as the subcontractors. Okay, so whenever you hire any third party, you make sure whenever they hire any subcontractors, they need to inform you in advance. They need to have approval from you in advance before hiring any subcontractors. They should not simply go ahead and hire anybody for your organizational data. Okay, it's very important. And all this you can mention in the agreement. So whenever you have any third party, you have agreements in place. So in these agreements, you need to mention that in case of any subcontractors, you need to be informed. You need to be sought out for approvals. You need to be considered. You need to be, it's not like tomorrow they go and just hire 4 or 5 subcontractors to ease out their work. It should not happen like that. Okay, you need to have proper checks and balances in place. Okay, so these are known as fourth party and nth party risk, because this chain can go on, right? You don't have any control on this chain. This chain can go on forever. So that's why the only way to stop this and the only way to control is through the agreement. Okay, you need to have proper agreement clause in place. Okay, then third party framework and life cycle. Okay, I've already informed that. In the beginning we discussed, firstly we need to identify the third party for any organization. Let's make a list of all the third parties. These are all the third parties for the organization. Then we perform the risk assessment on that, depending upon the data what they have and the sensitivity of the data and the impact assessment. We perform the risk assessment. Then we have the contractual risk management and legal safeguards in place as the controls. And adding to the controls, we have vendor onboarding and risk based control implementation also. And very important thing is the ongoing monitoring and performance review. You need to be in talks with the third party. Collaboration is key. Collaboration here is key, because if you're not collaborating with the third party, guys, basically you're missing on a lot of risk, because nobody will come and tell you that this is happening in my organization. You need to be proactively collaborating with them every now and then. You need to be doing periodic audits. You need to be doing periodic risk assessments on their platform to understand this. Okay, so don't assume that they will come and they will tell you that this is going wrong on our side. Nobody will do that. Okay, so you need to basically have proper collaboration in place. Collaboration is really important, guys. Okay, I'm telling you from experience. Do not leave everything to third parties and think that it will be all hunky dory. It's not like that. Okay, you need to have proper checks and balances in place, and those will come through collaboration only, right? Then you have incident management, contingency planning. Okay, you need to you need to make sure that the proper incident management in place. And most important is the vendor offboarding and exit strategy. Okay, what are the different concerns when you might have to exit this vendor? What are the different areas where you might have to terminate this vendor. These things have to be again defined in the agreement. Okay. So going a little bit deep into the third party identification and categorization, basically we need to create a vendor inventory and risk segmentation. We'll see in the next slide how to define the risk segmentation for the third parties. We'll see that. Okay. So based on business criticality, we need to make a vendor inventory and segment the risk accordingly, right? So third party relationships need to be identified. Okay. For example, who are the technology vendors, who are the IT service providers, who are the business process outsourcing providers, who are the supply chain and logistic vendors, who are the financial service providers, who are the legal and compliance partners. All these are nothing but the list of third party that any company would use at any point of time. Okay, you have the list here. Okay, so these are the key challenges that you might face during the vendor identification process, because vendor identification is the key process. If you do not get this process right, the entire, the deck of cards will actually fall. Okay, so vendor identification is very important. If you skip even one vendor, later on you come to know that that was the most important one that you got skipped, right? So make sure that you do not come across these challenges. As I already mentioned, this one, sometimes they actually hire subcontractors, so this thing you need to be very careful about. Okay, so sometimes there is a lack of central vendor registry, because different departments might outsource to different vendors without even informing to a central authority. Okay, so that's why, in order to overcome all these issues, what companies nowadays do is they establish a third party risk management program. Okay, and how to establish this program, basically I will discuss in my course, but just to give you a very high level understanding of what a TPRM program looks like. The objective of the TPRM program is basically to make sure that the third party risk management is taken care of properly. Okay, third party risk management program is very crucial for any organization nowadays. Again, how to create this program, who will be responsible for this program, who will be the key people in this program, everything I'll be discuss in the entire course, because right now we don't have that much time. So everything we'll discuss in my course. But just to give you a overview idea, third party risk management program has to take care of all these risks, and it does that basically, right? If your third party risk management program is proper, definitely you are in a good shape as an organization, right? Okay, now let's say the categories based on the risk and criticality. How do you categorize the vendor? Okay, you have tier 1 vendors as a high risk vendor. Now why do you call it high risk? Based upon the access to sensitive data. If they have access to sensitive data, you basically call them high risk vendors. Okay, again, depending upon the data criticality, if the criticality is little bit lower, you call it moderate risk. And access to any public data, or minimal access to sensitive data, or any minimum access to business critical operations, you call them as the low risk vendors. Okay, these are the different tier levels. We'll see into more detail how we basically define these tier levels in the next slide. Okay, just to give you an overview. Establishing vendor risk criteria. Again, these are the different criteria that you can break up the vendors into: data sensitivity, okay, network access, regulatory compliance, financial stability, reputation, and legal risk. Most of these we have already discussed. Okay, primarily need to look into data sensitivity, okay, and regulatory compliance. These two are primarily important. Okay, so creating a centralized vendor risk register is very important. Again, it's a part of the TPRM program. Okay, that you actually create a centralized vendor risk register. Okay, And what all details do you need to enter? We have them over here. Okay, you need to have vendor name, you need to have what is the service that is the vendor providing, you need to have what is the data that they are handling, you need to have what are the compliance requirements like we discussed. Do they need to abide with GDPR, HIPAA, PCI DSS, whatever? Okay, you need to check that. Then you have to define the risk levels also, risk tier levels also. Okay, then you need to have the contract start and expiry date. One very important thing just came to my mind while the word contract came into play. Let's say after you lay out the contract, right? It's a very important interview question also that I have seen a lot of people asking. So let's say you have laid out a contract. So after laying out the contract, let's say now you want to make some changes in the contract, or let's say you want to basically add something to the contract, right? How do you do that? Do you basically resend the whole contract again? You revise the whole contract again? You basically, keep on editing the same contract again and again? The answer is no. You simply pass on a addendum. Okay, you need to pass on addendum. This addendum will make sure of the changes of the additions to the contract. Okay, so no need to change the contract every time. Whenever you have any changes, whenever you have any additions, you simply add on to the addendum. Okay, that is the practice. Okay, so these are the different vendor types. Again, high risk vendor, medium risk vendor, lower risk vendor. Again, we have seen as per the weightage we can define. Now this depends upon company to company. Okay, some companies will give more weightage to this, some companies will give more weightage to this one. Okay, so depending upon company you give the weightage, but this is how you actually define the risk assessment. Okay, this slide is very important, guys. If you really want to understand the entire third party risk management, this slide is crucial. Okay, and again, by only watching this, by only reading this, you won't be able to get a understanding. More understanding only get when you do the hands on. Okay, so that's why you know that's why there are courses for this, that's why there are proper training methods for this, so that you understand how basically to implement a third party risk management in any organization. Okay, that's why you have the courses. Very important key legal documents in any third party risk management. These are the key documents, guys. You need to have these documents. There is no if and but. Like, you need to have them, right? One is the master service agreement. Okay. Second is the service level agreement. We've already seen that. SLA, what is the importance? Then you have data protection agreement. Okay. Then you have right to audit clause. RTA is also called. Okay, right to audit is basically whenever you want, you can audit the company, or you can ask for audit reports from the company. It's called a right to audit. Okay, indemnification clause. Okay, let's say vendor is not able to meet your required requirements for as an organization, then they will compensate for your financial losses, data breaches. This will come under the indemnification clause. Again, very important clause from a financial perspective. Okay, then you have incident response and breach notification clause. Vendor needs to have proper notification in place in case they have any data breach. Okay, they need to get in touch with you. Then you need to have BCDR clause as well. Okay, ensuring that vendor has proper resilience plans in place. They have proper RTO and RPO for your services that basically they are offering you, right? You are considered everything, guys, which we are talking about here. You are considered with your service. Remember that. Okay, if these documents are not related to your service or your product that you have outsourced, it's of no use. Okay, so remember that always. It has to be in touch with your service or your product that you are outsourcing as an organization. Okay, that's very important. Cyber insurance requirement. The most important one, exit and data deletion clause. How are they making sure that your data is secure after you exit them? how are they purging the data? Okay, it's very important. These things are really important for now, because nowadays data is the most important thing, right, for any organization. Okay, so master service agreement, main primary contract. Okay, MSA has all the things into it. Okay, which you basically lay out with any organization. All the clauses that we have seen basically part of the master service agreement, right? So MSA is there. Okay, in the MSA you have SLAs also. In the MSA you have all the other things outlined, but the primary contract is called the master service agreement. Okay, SLAs again: uptime, availability, incident response time, resolution time, data backup and recovery, compliance audits, breach notification. All these are part of the SLAs. Need to be monitored, need to be measured as per the commitment. If not, then you need to penalize the vendor and introduce penalties. And in case of repetitive penalties being introduced, in case of repetitive SLA losses, again you can exit the vendor. But again, all these things have to be mentioned in the agreement, because if these things are not mentioned in the agreement, then you cannot take any action as an organization. So agreement is very, very, very important in case of third party risk management. Okay, so this is basically it from a third party risk management perspective that I wanted to cover today. And let us see some questions now. Ghazal, are you there? Okay, I don't think she's there. Yeah,
Hi,
Ghazal, you're there.
love.
Okay.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Let's have the questions on the screen. I can't actually.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. Job market for TPRM roles is enormous. That is why we have actually introduced this course, to be honest, because earlier we were going for 27,000 one lead auditor course, but when we saw the opportunity in the market, it's much more in terms of TPRM roles, and especially for freshers we have seen a great demand for TPRM roles. So that is why from experience of 1 to 3 years, there's a great demand. That is why we are going for third party risk management course, in fact. Okay, I think Vijeta also had a question. Yeah, we will share the recorded video. Don't worry. I think Vijeta also had a question. What is the role of InfoSec?
Let me check that for you, love.
Okay. I think she's asking what is the role of InfoSec while offboarding of the vendor. So basically, role of InfoSec while offboarding of the vendor is, again, depending upon what type of exit clauses do you have, right? Depending upon the exit clauses, the most important role of the InfoSec vendor would be InfoSec person would be data security, because your data is utmost important. How are they purging your data? How are they transferring the data back to you? How are they taking care of the data deletion process? Okay, that is really important. Okay, because if the data is in the cloud, okay, then you need to purge in a different manner. If the data is with a vendor, then you need to purge in a different manner. Okay, so that there is no data remnants. So data remnants, I would say, is the most important risk for any InfoSec professional from a third party perspective. I would say that, Vijeta. Any other questions, anybody? Feel free to add. Okay, I'm here. Okay, that's it then. You can actually send us the comments later on also on this video if you want, guys. Not an issue. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, Ghazal.
Thank you so much, love.
Thank you.